So in our webinar, what are the key things we want to focus on? Well, obviously, we want to focus on how Microsoft Teams can really benefit you. And that includes things like ways to communicate, ways to make your communications more engaging, more contextual. A lot of us are communicating with people inside our network, but also people outside our network. Our clients, our vendors, our employees, our managers, our SMEs. And then there's a lot of great ways that you can connect with people at your own convenience. You can set up meetings. You can do a quick conference call or video call. You can share your screen. You can also chat with people and they can rejoin at their convenience. So there's some great connections in there. Teams has really robust tools. It's not just a communication tools. Microsoft Teams is actually a collaboration tool. So explore ways that you can manage complex projects or ongoing projects or managing daily operations or your work groups all in one space. And then we'll go back and revisit some of those links when you'll see them in context of, okay, I'm ready for the next step. Where do we go? So let's take a closer look at Teams in general. What does it really do? And so Teams in general, it's designed to basically answer the things that we do in our work schedule all the time. We communicate with people, we are collaborating with people, we are chatting on the phones, we're meeting with folks. So here's what Microsoft Teams does. It creates this central hub that allows you to chat, call, set up meetings, set up workspaces, access your files, access your applications and apps, access your people, all from one central portal. And Teams is part of Office 365. It's actually part of your platform. So if your organization is already using Office 365 or considering adding one of the plans, Teams is part of that. And it's a way to help you access all the content. It's all based online. So that means you can access it anywhere, anytime. Your IT folks might set up Active Directory that's connecting with security and device settings as well as Outlook connections. So people can easily access your contacts that are already part of Active Directory. Easy access to that. And then, of course, if you want to use guest access or external users, you can add people and you can connect with people just through their email addresses. And then that means you can instant message them, chatting, you can set up calls. It could be an audio call or let's share my screen kind of call, video conferencing call. You can schedule meetings. So Teams can be hooked up or synced up with your Outlook calendar as well. And you can send out invites and have recurring meetings or one-time meetings. And then, of course, all the files, they live somewhere in the cloud. So they might live in your OneDrive for Business. They might live in SharePoint, Office 365. Maybe your organization is using outside portals, and you can use Teams to access those different portals, Microsoft as well as partner apps or third-party apps. And now we have quick, easy access to those files. We've got versioning set up. We've got sharing access. Our IT folks can then use all the security features that you're normally using for managing your portals. You can manage the content that it's stored and security and e-discovery and retention, storage, all that cool stuff IT can manage on the back end. And then the users have easy access to it through Teams. Like I was telling you, there's really robust collaboration tools. We call them teams and channels. We'll find out more about that. And then it's really great way to access your files and or your services, your tools, your apps. So maybe it's a Office 365 app like Word or OneNote, or maybe Planner. Maybe it's a partner app or a third-party app like Twitter or ADP or Jira Cloud or Trello or whatever types of apps that you're already using in your organization. You can access them right through Teams. Or you could even create custom apps. Maybe you're creating custom workflows. Maybe you're using Flow or Power Automate, and your users can then automate their work processes tapping into those different tools. And the big idea too is that this is all online. So it means that we can resume our conversations within context. So it's a great way to connect with people, even if they're on another side of the globe or if their schedule is different from yours. You can connect with them when it's convenient for their timeline. So that's the big idea. And we're going to take a closer look at the communication part of it. And so in this one, I'm thinking of chats and calls, maybe some meetings that are part of my chats, my instant messaging, my calling. And I might be wanting to connect with people outside my network, people inside my network. I'm going to use a scenario here. This would probably resonate. So first part of the scenario is Alex. He is in sales and he travels a lot for his work. Maybe he's not traveling as much right now this month, but pretty soon he's going to pick that up again. And regardless, he's often working out of a hotel room or he's working on the go. So he's very accustomed to being remote and maybe even in transit. So he needs to be able to connect with his clients. He also needs to be able to connect with the mothership, right, the headquarters, and share maybe his pipeline, his sales leads, his expense reports. Meanwhile, you have Adele, and she works at the headquarters, and she needs to be able to connect with her folks who are in the field. So she's often connecting with them. But these days, Adele's also working from home, and she's working remotely. And so even though she's in one spot, she needs to be able to connect with everybody. So there's lots of great ways that we can use Teams to manage this conversation. I'm going to show you some of my favorites. So first of all, Adele can set up chats. She can have a one-on-one chat conversation with Alex. So at any time, they can just do some connections. It can be maybe something fun and silly, because sometimes we just need a little bit we need to vent a little bit. And you can also have things that are more, let's get down to business. So here's my files. And we have lots of tools down below that allow us to share files, and we can upload files to the cloud. We can access files that are somewhere else in our system. We can bring in graphics if we want to keep this conversation kind of fun and engaging. And your IT folks, they can also set different parameters so they can control what graphics are visible. I'll put one in there. That looks fun. I kind of like that pizza one, though. That was fun, too. But there's all kinds of ways to keep this conversation engaging. And I'm going to go ahead and access this file. So here's a file that I uploaded. This file we could click on at any time, and we can work on it. We can view it. We can edit it. We can simply make comments on it or chat about it. What I like about this is that when you attach files, you don't have to open up lots of different windows. It's all in one spot. I don't have to go look through Outlook and find the file or go back to another portal and open up the file. It's all here connected. And another cool thing is Alex or Grady, this is actually a file I've shared with some other people. They can make comments on this file. They can chat on the file. So there's ways that we can connect with our conversation or chats. The other thing that we can do, all right, conversation. The other thing is this is a Microsoft file. This is a PowerPoint. Microsoft Office has what are called co-authoring. So it's a fancy way of saying more than one person can edit it at the same time. So Alex and I could actually be working on this file together at the same time if we wanted to. So this idea of having one single source, all online, easy to access together or to take turns as needed, that to me is a really convenient option. And then even just go ahead and, for some reason, these views are getting a little different, but then I can just go and close that view and I can jump back in to the main conversation. And Alex as well, he can share files. I think he did. So Alex can share files with me, and it's the same process. Hey, what if Alex is not online at the time? That's okay. What we have is what's called persistent chat or persistent history. And it means that this information is actually stored. And Alex and I have been working together for a long time, for over a year. So this goes back yeah, over a year, and it will continue going back. And so we can go back and reference our files and continue working on it. So that's a big idea. If you're coming from Skype, it's a little bit different because Skype was not tracking this. But if you're coming from, let's say, Link or some other tools, you're like, oh yeah, I know what persistent chat is. It also means that I can connect with people even if they're not in the same time zone as me, if they're not online, because Alex can go back and resume this conversation at his convenience, which is great. If we're at this online at the same time, we can actually extend this chat. Hey, Alex, let me give you a quick call. I want to talk to you about this pitch deck. I had some questions, or I want to talk to you about the statement of work that you submitted. So I can give him a quick call or even a web camera, open up my video conference. I can share the screen, and then we can actually work on these files or whatever we're going to talk about in real time. If Alex is not available, I can just schedule a meeting. Hey, Alex, let's set up a meeting, and we'll put a time in here, and then we can come back and meet when it's more convenient for you. And then the other cool thing is I can set up not just one-on-one chats. I can set up group chats. I can set up meetings, recurring meetings, and have easy access to them. So one of the group chats I have is with the executive team. Alex is in this. I have another group chat with Alex and Grady. And we can do the same thing. We can stay connected. I can reach out and actually tag them. So if I want to say, hey, Alex, all right, mention him, please review PowerPoint. And he can go in and look at that. And then we can also hover, we can react. So if Alex sends me a message or I send him a message, I can say, okay, I got it. I'm working on it. Or I love this, or that makes me so angry. So we have different ways to stay connected with one another and keep the conversation engaging. Now, something you might have inferred is if someone like Alex is mobile often, he's probably using mobile devices, maybe a tablet, maybe a phone. And here's a really nice thing. Teams has a very robust mobile app. So on your iPhone, or your iOS devices, your Android devices, you can put this mobile app and you're able to share your screen in meetings or in calls. You can work on files and collaborate with people. So again, very robust way to stay connected. And then of course you would also have just the audio call. I just want to quickly call you, but you can see ways that you can engage in the conversation. Now the recap here is that these chats, these instant messages, they could be one-on-one. They could have a group feel for them. So you could have a larger group. You could have different types of groups. They could even have the same people or a variety of people in them. And the big idea is that you can resume these conversations. They have persistent chats. They call it P-chat. And it means that you can connect with people at their own schedule. You can connect with people in different geographies. We've heard a lot of people giving feedback of like, I love the fact that now I can connect with my team on the other side of the world. We have a way that we can set up a chat communication feature. And then there's lots of ways that you can engage folks. There's obviously files. You can tag them so you can send them alerts that I need their attention. You can react to messages. You can use graphics. And of course, you can set up calls and meetings as needed. Now, the chats are great for your lightweight conversations, but sometimes you need a little bit more muscle. Sometimes you need a little bit more structure. So what if you are managing a project? This could be a long-term project. It could be just more complicated project, and you want to handle all the logistics. Or maybe you've got some process. Maybe it's a daily operations, or it's a sales cycle, or managing shifts. And you want to manage the steps in that process. Maybe it's the onboarding process as you're bringing in new clients or new contractors. Maybe it's the people. Maybe it's a group of people like an experts team, an HR group, or a peers champions group, or the town hall group, the safety committee. And you need to be able to share compliance information, kudos, milestones, and give them resources. So here's a scenario with Sally. She's part of the marketing team. And with Sally, what she's doing is she is often going to her marketing department and finding out, hey, is there any updates in forecasting, any updates in branding, any communication messages? So she needs a place where she can tap into that information and just get daily updates on kudos and milestones and what's the marketing manager directing the group. But then also Sally has a role. She's planning this huge, big marketing event. And so she needs to be able to manage her team. They're having weekly meetings to plan this event. She's going to be using different applications to help her plan the budget, the logistics, the files, all that cool stuff. And using Teams, she can keep all of that in sync. So let's see what that looks like. So in the marketing team, the marketing manager could be the owner of this team and kind of control what is showing on this information. And then everyone who's a member of marketing has access to this information. So now Sally can easily get information about communications, about forecasting. She has easy access to these different channels. So each channel is like a subtopic. And then she decided to add a channel, and she created this channel called Fiscal Year Event Planning. So here's where she can set up different conversation topics and threads. Hey, we've got some questions about the venue. Maybe the venue is going to change if we have to shift gears and have a virtual setting, or maybe we're going to postpone our big conference until the pandemic is done, right? But we can set up different threads and people can have their replies and connect with that conversation. And the other possibility, Sally could even just set up her own team, right, for the fiscal year event planning. What if she wanted to bring in people who are not just in marketing? Maybe she wanted to bring in people who are maybe outside of her network, maybe some vendors. Maybe she had some key customers and she wanted to add them into this planning project. So you can include people in your team. A team could be a people-based, it could be a project-based, something like this. And then you can also set up channels that are private. So in general, everyone sees all the information, but a private channel is this little island of security, and it says, hey, I don't really want my clients to be able to have the budget detail information, so that's going to be private and just between me and a couple other key players who have access to that, access to the money information, right? So as we're recapping here, these teams and channels, they're really just more robust. They're more muscle, more structure, and it's taking your communication to another level. So a lot more collaboration features. You can have streamlined conversations. You can have streamlined topics with each channel. It's designed to give everybody access, so everybody has visibility, although you can create private channels as little islands of security. But in general, your whole team has easy, quick access. Plus, you can have owners and members and moderators. So if you wanted to have a team that's sharing information, then it's maybe more owners, more moderators, fewer contributors, right? And then you could also have teams where we want more collaboration. So we have more people are adding to the conversation. And of course, you can have meetings and other conversations all wrapped up. But the other part of this, the other big idea is that we have apps. So if you're using chats, if you're using Teams and channels, you have applications. This could be all kinds of tools that allow you to just do your work, really, your services, your tools, your apps. So here's Derek. He's an engineer, and he has to share his test results with his colleagues. Now, some of his colleagues are other engineers, so he might be using apps that help him code. Other colleagues are project managers, project leads, and so he might be sharing more of business analyst kind of apps. Maybe some of his other colleagues are trainers or change managers, and they're helping take the conversation or the results and translating that into awareness campaigns or training campaigns or messaging campaigns to the larger audience, customers, internal customers, etc. So let's take a look at how we can access these tools. I'll start with Derek. So in Derek, he's got developing and testing team, and he does a lot of tweaking the code, testing the code, and he has other engineers that he works with. And they're using different code apps. Maybe you have GitHub, maybe Power App, what have you. And he can use different apps, just hook them up there, and then he can actually work with his engineer buddies or colleagues and say, hey, let's test out this code. And I'm just going to check out the more apps here. There's this store. And if we jump to developer and IT, I'm seeing a whole bunch of kinds of developer-based applications that I can hook into right from Teams. And some of these are Microsoft, like Flow and Azure DevOps. Some of them are not Microsoft, like Google Analytics and Jenkins. And so you can actually find what you're using and pin it or tab it right to your workspace. Here's one about analytics and business intelligence. So maybe I'm going to use Power BI, or maybe I'm going to be using MindMeister. So there's some other tools that we can use for mind mapping, for setting up different analytics or Excel spreadsheets. I'm also seeing some things like project management, sales and support. So maybe it's more of getting the word out, right? So this might be something that marketing or trainers are reviewing. In fact, if we go back to Sally's world, Sally might want to use something like OneNote, or maybe she wants to use something like Planner. That might be the tool that she likes to use to help people brainstorm or think about ideas. And these are both examples of Microsoft products that you can connect in. And again, that plus sign allows you to access other tools. So that's the big idea here. And as we're wrapping up, what it means is that Teams, again, is this hub. We saw that at the beginning. Teams is this hub, and it lets you access your people and your files and your content and also your tools and services. So these could be Microsoft applications and files. These could be third-party, second-party partner apps and services and tools. Maybe it's more like a connector. For example, do you follow any Yammer feeds or Bing News, or let's say Twitter? You can have that information fed right into a channel. So from one space, you can follow those different news tracks. Bots are just a way to streamline different tasks or questions. And so you can help streamline or automate some of those processes that people use. And then, of course, if your organization is using custom apps already, you can hook them into Teams so that your end users can quickly, easily access them. So that's a really nice feature. And then, of course, this is all online. So the way that you access this content is through one of the clients, and you can do this through your Windows PC, your Mac, your Linux-based systems, or even a mobile device. And you can even access this through browsers. So if you're not able to load software onto a particular device, you can still go through a major browser. What I like as an end user is that I can switch from my Windows desktop to my iPhone, and I don't have to learn a whole new system. Under the hood, the engineers continue to strive to have it really the same system all along. So that's really a nice feature. And again, what we were focusing on is like the key benefits is that Teams is communication, it's collaboration, and there's lots of ways to keep the conversation engaging. And then when it comes to collaborating, you have a lot of great tools to go deeper than just a quick chat. You can actually set up workspaces and then hook into apps as well. And it's all part of the Office 365 or the Microsoft 365 platform. It's leveraging that. So if you're a business decision maker, we've posted a link for Say Hello resources, Say Hello ILT resources. And that's going to have a list of the links that you see on the slide, including, hey, I want to look at some of the options. So whether it's a large business, a small business, there's a lot of different options out there. There's also options for particular industries. So there's teams for commercial, teams for US Gov, teams for healthcare, teams for education, IT admins, user change managers. You want to learn how to implement Teams. We've got some resources there to help you implement, and then more resources so you can continue exploring. End users, anyone interested in end user training, there's a link here that takes you to more training, including Get Started. That's a really good place to get started. And then also more training like support.office.com, and that has articles and videos bite-sized. So there you go.